The B team are back, and the Super Bowl is finished, and so is NFL season. However, we still have a bunch of guests popping up. One of our good buddies, someone I went to Europe with and survived, but my good friend Panyo Las Carreras, Eagles fan. Give it up for him. All right, Panyo, what's good, homie?
How we feeling after that game?
We're feeling. It's not a good loss. It's not a good loss. It's not something that there's a lot to take away from it. You know, if I was a cup half full kind of dude, which I'm not, I would say, you know, an optimist would say Hurts looked amazing. You know, it's one of the better Super Bowl performances out of a quarterback in, you know, recent history. He could do it all. His decision making is perfect. His, legs are as good as anybody's ever. He's throwing darts. Kes Watkins can't catch for shit. Got to get rid of him. But between the holding call, that's a terrible way to lose. You know, I would have preferred to lose by like 10 points. You know, beat us and let me feel good about it. But that's a terrible way to lose. And it's like, you know, the stuff that's coming out just won't let me die. It won't let me just take this and, you know, go to bed with it and move forward. Obviously, you know, the holding call was
bullshit,
sketchy. And you could say,
well, there's video.
Oh, he held him. Yeah, you could say, oh, he held him. But, you know, if you hear the ref's explanation, he talks about Bradbury's right hand was tugging the jersey, which, you know, it was his left hand, if anything. His right hand was getting batted down by Juju, right? It was like a hand fight on the inside. The ball wasn't catchable. I don't care if Juju, you know, had a jetpack on. He's not getting to that ball. And, you know, obviously the setting of the game, the timing of it, how it ended up, you know, it doesn't feel right as a way to end the game. You see Roger Goodell hugging Chris Jones like a schoolgirl, you know, giddy as ever, saying, you know, you can hit him however you want, which is, you know, conspiracy theories aside, it's a reckless thing to say as the commissioner of the NFL, you know, when, you know, after the year that Tua had, after like the AB stuff, all the CTE stuff, you know, you're supposed to be protecting your quarterbacks. That's obviously an NFL priority. That's not something a commissioner should say, you know, jokingly. If Roger Goodell is even capable of a sense of humor, because he's not, he's a robot. That's not his thing to say that, you know, there's a pattern of this kind of behavior from Roger Goodell. So that's just kind of weird. You don't like to see that. And then obviously Sodgate, you know, the details coming out about the turf and the groundskeeping. I mean, the guy that made the turf for the Super Bowl was the Chiefs groundskeeper for, you know, 60 years, like lifelong. Did it for the Kansas City Royals too. Lifelong Chiefs fan. He's 94. It's his last Super Bowl. And, you know, he's a lifelong diehard Chiefs fan, and it's his last Super Bowl. He's 94. The dude's got nothing to lose. If you were ever going to do it, you know, he's not worried about getting rehired again next year.
Oh,
you know, he's going to kick.
And I mean,
he's going to kick it.
It was impressive that he was able to switch the turf out for when the Chiefs were playing too.
So, you know, I'm happy you said that because, you know, the obvious rebuttal here, maybe not obvious rebuttal here, is that, you know, you look at the Eagles had to switch cleats halfway through the game. The Chiefs never switched cleats.
And maybe that's just them being prepared.
How would the Eagles be prepared for
They weren't
a
prepared for
turf?
the national anthem. They were crying at the national anthem.
You know, that's fine. You know, so, I'm okay with. I mean, I wasn't like ecstatic to see Sirianni crying, but he doesn't call the plays, right? So I wasn't worried about him being impulsive with the play calling. He's a great people manager, right? You know, he's good at that. So he's good at putting together the team. He's like a project manager, right? He's not calling the plays. So I don't care about that. But what I do care about is that obviously, you know, the motive here is clear, right? The groundskeeper would have had a motive to do so. And he could have tipped off the Chiefs a week in advance. Somebody at least, right? The equipment manager of the Chiefs. It doesn't have to be the whole team. I don't believe in the script, right? I think that's too many pieces to be, compliant with such a big, like, massive lie.
I somewhat agree with you.
But as it only takes a couple people to fix a match. And then, Mueller, you're a soccer player. Match fixing in soccer in Europe is rampant. I could tell you as a Greek soccer fan, right?
Oh, Greece is horrible.
Like, Italy is terrible with it. Juventus just had that 15-point ban, and they've been relegated before for match fixing. And that's one of the biggest clubs in Europe.
Barcelona's about to be relegated.
Yeah. And then Man City's, under investigation now by the FA. So, like, these are the biggest clubs in Europe. To think that the NFL is somehow, immune for any kind of, like, corruption is nonsense. Because, as we know, the NFL is a licensed entertainment industry, all right? Not a sports industry like the MLB is. They're the same legal standing as the WWE, right? So there's no.
So the NFL is rigged,
obviously.
Panyo?
I'm not
Are
saying
you on the
it's
train?
I'm saying that there's certainly an opportunity legally and profit incentive for meddling.
So
right?
just say it. You don't think the Eagles won the Super Bowl because the NFL is rigged?
I think all of the narratives, all of the motives were already against the Eagles, right?
Okay.
Brady retired. Mahomes is the new poster boy for the NFL.
Panyo was not on the train until the Philly Eagles lost. And I'm not saying because of that, but you have noticed, and we have talked about this before.
I'm not on the scripted train. I think that's nonsense. I think that's way too hard to pull off. Too many moving pieces, thousands of NFL players. But like I said, it doesn't take a whole league to like fix anything. You just need one flag at the right time, like a couple of flags throughout the game. It just takes one ref. I mean, look at the NBA in the early 2000s. Tim Donahue admitted to fixing matches and gambling on matches. That whole crew conspired against Allen Iverson for years, right?
Mm-hmm. Just another
for what? Exactly. For what though? Just because Allen Iverson like said something sideways to a ref once? Like, I mean, that's just like mob activity. Like that's how like mafias act, right? Like this was like a fraternity kind of thing. This wasn't there was no profit motive behind that, right? There was no incentive for screwing over AI. So, I mean, this stuff has happened in the U.S. Pete Rose, God bless him as another Philly guy. Should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he was a manager betting on his own team. Like, so the stuff has happened. It can legally happen in the NFL, right? So, obviously, but there has to be the perception that it's not fixed or else, like, the product fails, obviously. Like, people want to believe, especially, it's entrenched in American culture for the last 100 years. Like, it runs deep in families and traditions, like even in Philly especially, and then other cities like Green Bay. No one would even know where Green Bay was if it wasn't for the Packers, right? Like Boston fans are the most obnoxious ones, and their whole thing in New England is about the most racist ones. They're definitely whole thing is about.
Yep.
Their
I was
whole
going to
thing
say
is about
obnoxious.
sports.
I mean, Philly. I'm a Sixers and Flyers fan. Like I know I'm obnoxious at times. We can all agree with it. I mean, Philly has the best chant. Like they don't like us, we don't care. That is the greatest thing you could have.
It's a good one.
Yeah,
I agree. So I think between the fact that there's clearly a motive, there's a profit incentive. It's easy to pull off. We saw how it worked out in the end, right? The result matched the motive. Let me put it this way. I work for the largest broadcasting company in the world that owns the media rights to just about everything, right? I can tell you from personal experience that a lot of money goes into these media rights. A lot of money. And there's two major sports talk networks, and that's Fox Sports and it's ESPN, right? So there's no integrity in the media. None. There's no journalistic integrity. They don't play by the same rules as other media networks should. So clearly, the media narrative is Mahomes is the new poster boy, right? So there's that profit incentive and media motive. So, and then the groundskeeper, I mean, if I was 94 and it was my last Super Bowl, and it was going to be played in Philadelphia, I'm doing the same fucking thing.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
I'm not holding it against him, but like
That's a smart move by the guy.
For the people, man.
yeah.
It's a smart move.
Yeah. And then again, the referees have been corrupt, and it happens all over the world, right? So there's no reason to believe that anybody who thinks you should never be an absolute thinker, right? Anybody who thinks in absolutes, like there's 100% chance the NFL is not fixed. No.
Yeah.
Like, and it doesn't even have to be like from the top down. It could be just a faction in the front office. It could just be like one department. It could be one like team, one group that has this motive, and they're kind of operating like on their own. Mm-hmm. So to think that there's 0% chance is just stupid.
Yeah,
it's downright dumb. Like we're talking about billions of dollars. We're talking about like so much is at stake. So, and again, I'm not saying it 100% happened. We would need something more concrete, right? Like, but 0% is 0% is more dumb than 100%. Right.
No, 100%. But let's get into the game here. So I want to go back to what you said earlier. You said you would rather lose by 10. I need to know, when you guys were up by 10, how many times did you say to people, this is over, we're Super Bowl champions? How many beers did you pop at that time because you thought it was in the bag?
So I didn't personally because I was an anxious mess the entire time. And I know, so 10 point, and I hate that. I've been seeing this all over social media and on like ESPN and shit like that. Oh, the Eagles blew a 10-point lead. You know, the only other team to blow. Yeah. The only other team to blow a 10-point lead was the, Matt Ryan Falcons. That was way worse. First of all,
Way
don't
worse.
compare us to
That's
that.
such a bad comparison.
That's completely different.
Yeah.
Second of all, since when was 10 points at halftime by any means a safe lead against Patrick Mahomes?
Wow.
We're talking about Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes off the perk.
Yes.
So we're like, that's not. You'd be a fool to think that's like a safe lead, especially when the Chiefs were still like,
a whole other.
Put it up. I mean,
yeah.
there was a doink too. So
a
like, it wasn't like the point difference wasn't that crazy. It could have been a lot closer. So 10 points in such a pass heavy league. I mean, we saw 27-0 leagues fold. We saw 33-0 leagues fold this year. 10 points in the Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes with nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Nah, that's not a safe lead. That almost makes me more anxious because then I'm going to start thinking that they're scheming like they have to protect the lead, which I've said this to Mike, prevent defense is out. Dumbest thing.
Yeah, and I only ask that because as the representative of the Eagles franchise in this room right now, do you approve of all of Philadelphia seemingly going – this is a two-part question – going down and just partying the night away after a loss, and two – before the game, partying as if they already won and flipping cars over. So are you a pro flip car over before the game, or is that bad? Should we?
Those are like, so those kids, that's like cosplaying to me, right? That's not. I'm not big on, like, the post celebrations, like. To me, I don't want to say that they're not real fans. Like, I'm not going to tell people how to be a fan and not to be a fan. But, I mean, when the Eagles lost, I turned my TV off right away, and I stood by my door waiting for everyone to get the fuck out of my house. I wanted to go to bed. I don't know. You should not have that quick of a turnaround in your stages of grief. Like, you have to be depressed for at least a day before you even – I shouldn't say this, but I didn't get out of bed for a long time the next day. Right. Yeah. So,
which I'm sure, no, Philadelphia did. Everyone that's in that area, or if you are a Philadelphia fan, you should have been allowed an excuse to show up at like noon the next day to work. There's no, it already should be a national holiday because the Super Bowl's on a Sunday. So we got to fix that. There's nothing happening on Saturday. It should always be on a Saturday. But you guys all should have been allowed to not go into work on Monday. The way you guys lost, it's one thing if, like you said, you lost by 10, you knew going down the stretch it was probably over. But to lose like that, I mean, there was no reason for me to go into work the next day and see my manager looking like he was about to cry. There was no reason that I had to do that.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it is it's like a dopamine crash, right? For 58 minutes of that football game, which is in real time like 3.5 hours of that football game, you're riding this high, like you're intense, like riding this high, and then that holding call just like crashed, right? And then that kind of like contrast just like takes the life out of you, just sucks it out. So to have to go through that, and then that's a long recovery after that. I mean, today's Wednesday. Today's like the first day that I've
smiled?
been.
So
Go ahead, Mike.
Panyo, so in the game particularly, like personally, like I had the Birds to win. I kind of thought that the Chiefs were going to, but I wanted the Birds to win because I'm a Jalen Hurts fan. He's a winner. He's a warrior. He's someone who you want as a franchise quarterback. You can agree with that.
100%.
I mean, you watched the game. I think they played exceptionally on offense. Mm-hmm. I think the offensive line had a terrific game. I think the wide receivers played well besides Quez, and they just flat out show that they can compete with anyone, especially Jalen, because I think we've seen so much progress with Jalen starting. Even last year, like went to the playoffs, lost in the first round, but I think we've seen not just his legs and his awareness, but his accuracy. I mean, there are a couple throws that he made there was one, I think it was a 3rd and 8 to Goddard, who ran like a cross route, and it was just perfectly placed. That one, the one to Goddard on the sideline where they thought it wasn't a catch and they reviewed it. The one to Devontae. I think we've seen so much improvement from just him being a quarterback, just handling the football. I mean, he had that one little miscue fumble, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it cost him a lot. But I think there's a lot of progress. But if there's one thing that really surprised me, and I think we need to give the Chiefs a little bit of credit for, is their offensive line, because their defense didn't do much. Hassan Reddick didn't do much. Obviously Chris Jones, but like all of the other guys weren't competing as well as they should, or weren't producing as well. So what's one of your biggest takeaways when it came to the defense and the offense, both sides?
Yeah, so I think on offense, we were near perfect. I mean, you scored 35 points. You're supposed to win the game. I think the running game could have been a little bit better. We weren't getting like any breakaway runs, like just like some chunk yardage, some like 2-yard gains. Obviously, Jalen Hurts had 3 touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, which is, the only time that's ever happened in the Super Bowl. I think the biggest issue, of course, was the defensive line, right? You're talking about a defensive line that, take away that 80s Bears team. It was the same players just over 2 seasons. The Eagles that defensive line is the second best in NFL history by sacks, right? The only team in NFL history with 4 players with at least 10 sacks. I mean, you have those are your 4, starting rush. Those are actually, no, they weren't even. I mean, Fletcher Cox didn't have 10 sacks, and he's the starting DT next to Javon Hargrave. So you have like backup defensive linemen with over 10 sacks, and not a single holding call on the Chiefs line. Not a single, maybe like a couple QB hits, but not a single sack on Mahomes, who for the first half at least was on a not perfect ankle. I mean, not to bring up Southgate again, but 38% of plays where Mahomes dropped back, players slipped, and there were multiple slips, and then you could see that from everybody, right? I mean, Chris Jones complained about it too. Hurts didn't get sacked either, but the Eagles do have the best defensive line in the league, not just a second team center that the Chiefs have, a second team All-Pro center. Which obviously is good, but the center is not the one who's blocking the edge rushers either. He's not blocking Hassan. He's not blocking Josh Sweat. He's blocking Hargrave and Cox and Jordan Davis.
I'll be honest though, like I feel like the refs, even though we've gone through all this, the profit, all that shit, profit incentive, rigness, I actually think they were kind of letting them play for the first 4 quarters of the game until that flag that was thrown on Juju, or on who was it, Gardner Johnson that was on him?
Bradbury.
Yeah. So I think there were barely any flags. I thought they actually did well because obviously there's so many people watching. But I don't know, man. I mean, that's really all I got to say about the refs. That it was just nice to see them actually let them play for once, and then just let the game go how it's supposed to go, instead of always chirping in and throwing flags, red zone flags, holding flags, freaking end zone flags, all that. So That's a
I
plus
like
at
the no
least.
flags. I don't mind. I'm just saying.
Just make
you
sure
know,
it's actually like accurate and correct
Yeah.
if you're throwing
Like,
flags, not just some BS.
That's where I was saying the other day. Like, why we should just implement VAR into the NFL. Go ahead, throw your flag if you think it's a penalty, and then but we have people watching every game. Just have them look at it, say, "Oh, yes, that's a penalty," or they call down immediately, like, "No, no, no, we got that wrong." It's very
Yeah.
simple because in football, it's not like soccer where you got to draw lines and look at offside and stuff. Like, if it's a hold, we can see it's a hold. Everyone can see it's a hold. If it's pass interference, we can all see it when we slow this thing down. Like, it would be very easy to implement VAR into the NFL.
Yeah, and then I mean that's just what makes sense, right? If you have such a big, at least in the last 2 minutes, when you have like kind of how the NBA does it.
Yes.
And like if
Yep.
you have a flag that obviously dictated the outcome of the game, like you can't sit here and tell me that after scoring 35 points, Jalen Hurts with 2 minutes left and 2 timeouts isn't going to go down the field and at least get into field goal range,
Yep.
right? So and the same would have been for the Chiefs. I mean, we couldn't really stop the Chiefs; like they would have done the same, right? And then it just that was the nature of the game. So the fact that you can't like just take a second look at that, I mean. We saw Saints fans right a couple years ago how they reacted, obviously, like rightfully so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, why can't you look at that? It's just it doesn't make sense. And then, I mean, so put it this: at EuroLeague basketball, referees get fined and suspended for making the wrong call that would like dictate the outcome of the game. There's just no accountability for referees. Right?
In every sport here.
Yep.
Yeah.
There should be suspensions in every sport. They should have to talk to the media after games.
That's what I was
They should
saying.
have to do all this stuff because
Absolutely.
the players go in there and we got Bradbury having to respond to people talking about his hold.
How'd you feel about that? Actually, that he said that.
I mean, that's the expected answer, right? Like you want your players. I mean, I personally don't care, but you know the traditional line of thinking is that like you know you want your players to be professionals and take accountability, even if you don't really think that you did anything wrong, kind of thing, right? So, but Bradbury, I mean, the film and maybe the ref made a mistake. The ref said it was Bradbury's right hand.
Well, we should,
And it wasn't.
When you look at someone, like if I'm looking at Mike right now, if I say his right hand, right now his right one's his left. So we got to give him the benefit of the doubt because it was a bang bang play.
Yeah. So again, not to get caught up with
Thanks, Paul.
not
Panyo,
to get caught up on the right left. I think the ref would not be that dumb to make that mistake. But yeah. So I mean, again, you expect Bradbury to say that. You know, he's an older dude now. He's looking for a contract. So you don't want to come off as a sore loser.
So this is what we're going to get into now, and I'm glad that you said that because the Eagles' offseason is pretty interesting right now because they have a lot of decisions to make. I'm going to go through each one, each player that is a free agent, and you're going to tell me if they should re-sign them or let them walk, all right? We got a decent amount here. So we'll start off. Fletcher Cox, come back or no?
If he takes a small amount, he's not at the point. He's a good like hole stuffer, but the run defense was just average this year.
That's why they drafted Jordan Davis.
Yeah, like you know, if he wants to come back on like a small amount, like I'll keep him. I mean, we just did that last year. We cut him to save money. So, for a small, I mean, I love him, but you know, everyone's got to go eventually.
Robert Quinn,
Nah,
Brandon Graham. That's a tough one. Same
I think
situation as Cox.
He had a way better season than Cox. I think Brandon Graham would be willing to take a pay cut just because he loves Philly. His family's here. He's never played for any other team, right? So I think if Brandon Graham wants to take a team-friendly deal, I keep him. I doubt he would want like to, you know, play the market. But if he did, he would get a lot more money than I think we'd be willing to pay him.
Gotcha.
I think another thing with that, with like Graham and some of those guys, they filtered in maybe 6 guys throughout the year. They weren't playing as many snaps as a lot of other people, so their stats aren't going to line up the same as a lot of guys.
Yeah.
So like if he actually played like how Micah Parsons or
Very
Marcus
collective
Lawrence,
defense. Yeah.
like it would have been a little different statistically. Like I think he might have even been better than what he did.
So I think, Panyo, that they're going to cut pretty much all of the people that they brought to help them to get to the Super Bowl and possibly win it. Like, I don't think Ndamukong Suh comes back. I don't think Linval Joseph comes back. Robert Quinn, I don't know. But I want to get into the important people and just give me a little explanation. So we'll start Gardner Johnson. You think he has to come back? No.
He'll probably get paid a lot. Safety's not like Howie's never really seen that like position as like too high priority on his list of people that he pays. Same deal. If he wants to take, I don't think he will, but if he wants to take a smaller deal, I'd love to keep him. But he led the league in interceptions and he missed 5 games. Like, he's gonna get paid.
All right, now this one's gonna be tough because I know me and you personally have spoken about this, but I'll throw 2 and then you can throw them into one point. So we got Giant Killer Boston Scott and Miles Sanders. What's gonna happen there?
Boston Scott is difficult because he doesn't really play that much. He just shows up in moments, right? And he's always been a fringe roster guy. Don't get me wrong. I love him, but he's still our 3rd running back, and he always has been. Like, again, we have like a running back committee kind of thing, but he's not going to get that much money from any other team. I think he's better off just staying in Philly where he's like appreciated and loved.
And then for Miles...
Well, one point on Boston Scott. If you guys can figure out a way to get rid of him, but then in the deal work out a way where you guys play the Giants, you have the rights to him, like that would be the perfect deal for everyone. If he can get somewhere and be a number 2 guy, but also be the number 1 when you guys play the Giants, I think that's perfect for everybody.
Like the Ronaldo to Newcastle loan deal.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm,
exactly.
Yeah, but then just give me your thoughts on Miles, and then we'll move on. So personally, we were just talking about this before the show. Obviously, I would love to see Bijan go to Philly, but it's not going to happen due to the resume of Howie Roseman. He's going to take either a lineman or a D tackle in the draft. It's just going to happen. But Miles Sanders, you think he stays or is he gone?
So I heard Miles wants to take like a team friendly deal. He wants to stay in Philly. I don't think he should for his own good. He's a running back. Get paid while you can, kind of thing. But I would love to keep him. It's kind of the leverage is kind of in our favor because it's a big free agent year for running backs. You got Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette, Saquon are all up for deals.
Josh Jacobs,
Tony Pollard.
Yeah, Tony Pollard. So these guys. Miles had a good season, but like in the grand scheme of things, in terms of like talent, they're all kind of the same tier. Josh Jacobs is obviously better. Saquon Barkley is considered better. So they'll get paid first. Josh Jacobs will get paid first, then Saquon.
Yeah.
So we could get him if we could get him for less than like maybe $10 million a year. I would like to keep him, but that's just hasn't been the Eagles' style recently with just the running back committee kind of stuff.
Going along with that, does the choke job in the Super Bowl affect you at all?
I don't call it a choke job.
He had negative 2 yards going into halftime. All I needed was 25 from the guy, and my parlay hits.
Yeah, so
negative 2.
He can't hand the ball off. He can't hand the ball off to himself, right?
Negative. So we want to get into that. Yeah. So Jalen Hurts,
he can.
He can't even handle the snaps.
I
don't want to get into this. I'm just messing with you. But he did fumble that one. That was on him.
Uncharacteristic.
Did you have anything else?
Uncharacteristic.
I will say I feel
Carson fumbling. Hurts doesn't fumble.
Listen, I would rather see my quarterback throw a bunch of interceptions and touchdowns than just missing the ball. At least Dak will catch the ball.
Dak did throw a lot of interceptions.
But not as many as Josh Allen, or it was close to the same. He has the same numbers as Josh Allen. So let's give Josh Allen the same heat.
Dak missed 5 games.
Yeah, and they were crucial to his development to become like Josh Allen.
Do you see the Cowboys as a big threat leading up to the next year or a couple of years to the Birds? Do you think they are the Birds or the Dallas Cowboys kryptonite? How do you see the Dallas Cowboys in the future looking like?
Don't be dumb.
Coming from in the regular season, the Cowboys always get up to play us, right? So it's always like a split series most of the time, like assuming one of the two teams isn't like going through just a terrible year. What I'm thinking of competitors in the NFC in general, I'm not thinking of anybody let alone the Cowboys, honestly. And I'm going to be honest with you, just because, and this isn't even me being an Eagles fan.
No,
this
this is.
This is me saying the Cowboys, and they have been for the last 30 years, are a guilty until proven innocent team. Right?
You love that fucking phrase, bro.
That's what
in
they are.
every sense of the phrase, we are. I agree with you. In every
Yeah,
sense.
It's a guilty.
But as of late, we haven't been in jail as much.
Your players haven't been in jail.
Yeah,
as
that's
much
what I mean.
because- Yeah, I mean, Jerry's been lacking on that end. He needs to pick up some criminals, I think, and then
Yeah, I know.
really get the squad back where it should be.
Yeah, we're missing out on that part of it. We need some more.
You lost one
Heavy
guy
hitters.
to the UFC.
Should we go get Randy? Who's not Randy Gregory? Who's the guy that's in the UFC now?
Greg Hardy.
Greg Hardy. Maybe we bring him back. Break
Yeah.
a leg or two.
And then, let's be honest, Dak is not that guy.
Maybe. Kellen Moore.
Amari Cooper kind of buried him with the Black Kirk Cousins thing. That is still the funniest.
That's a
bit I've
compliment,
heard in
though.
my life.
Kirk Cousins had MVP numbers this year.
He always throws for 4,000. Never.
Yeah, that's
really
MVP numbers.
happens.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Tell me my quarterback's good more. Compare me to Aaron Rodgers.
Jerry's
next time.
paying for a Super Bowl, or at least he's trying to.
He's trying
Right.
to, but he sucks. We're never going to win until he leaves.
That is the
I mean,
truth.
he's getting there, but too bad his little cocksucker son is going to take his job.
But I
when he
think his
dies.
son is smarter than him, football-wise, right now. I think his son would play it better. He would play it more how the Rams played last season, or like how the Eagles did this season, where they just went for it and like built an actual team that was built to win. Like Jerry he's like, he doesn't want to pay anybody the money, but then he'll pay like 3 guys and it makes no sense.
He
We've
always
buried
ends up
ourselves
paying
at
the money.
quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, he ended up paying Dak. He ended up paying Zeke when he was playing hardball.
Zeke deal's going to haunt
I
me
think-
forever.
The Rams are a special situation in terms of like going for it, because they paid Todd Gurley, who's like not even in the NFL,
Yeah.
like
they just got rid of all their
25
picks.
mil. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
The
think they
Eagles
have a first
have-
rounder to like 25.
Yeah.
dude.
yeah. The Eagles have their pillars, right? We're gonna pay Jalen Hurts. He's gonna get paid first.
Easy.
And then AJ Brown is locked in. We got Devonta on another 2 years on his rookie contract. We got Hassan Reddick is paid. We have a bunch of like Jordan Davis is a rookie. Sweat just got paid, if I'm not mistaken, before the season. So we've got, I think Slay's going into his last season on his contract. But we do have a bunch of guys that are going to be leaving. But it's not like the Rams where they had to pay everybody. And, they paid Jared Goff. He's not on the team anymore. They paid Todd Gurley. He's not on the team anymore. So they really went for it. Because now they have no picks. At least we have picks. We got 2 first-round picks.
But hey, is it worth it though? They got the Super Bowl. Or, like, would you be happy with that as a fan if you just went all in for 1 year and won it, and then were asked the next 5 to 10 years?
No. I think that's not. I don't think those are the only 2 options. I think there's a way that you could build like a sustained model, and a lot of it is timing,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
Like a lot of you got to hit on those rookie contracts. You got to hit on those 1 year deals, the prove it deals. So those are important.
Yeah.
Right?
Injuries.
I think.
Go ahead.
I'm saying I just think you have to pay the people that you are going to pay. Have to be like, you can't pay running backs.
No.
You need a wide receiver 1. You need a quarterback. You need an edge rusher, and you need some good O linemen, right? You can't pay maybe one good DB, but you can't pay like linebackers insane money. You can't pay running backs insane money.
Safeties.
Protect the blind spot, right? You pay your left tackle first, assuming your quarterback's are ready. Pay the blind spot, pay your QB, pay a wide receiver 1. Like let your quarterback cook. Like he needs weapons, and he got to stay healthy. You can't have him getting like clobbered every game.
Yeah.
So, is there any last final conclusion that you want to make about the Birds? Expectations for next year, because we want to get into basketball just a little bit before we end the Zoom. What's the final statement here, Panyo?
I mean, Birds are like right now, I think in a better position than the Bengals were last year. We're same kind of deal. Like, the goal is always going to be the Super Bowl moving forward, as long as Jalen is healthy and our supporting cast isn't terrible. So that's kind of like a blessing and a curse. You kind of lose this is what really hurt. It was like, now it's like, I'm not going to enjoy any regular season win. I'm not going to enjoy any wild card, any divisional, any conference champion. Like I need the Super Bowl, or else I'm not going to be happy with any kind of season. Like the expectation is there. It's realistic. I think we opened second favorites, tied with the Bills, which I think the Bills suck. Not suck, but they're overrated.
I agree.
So it's never going to be. I can't. When I was younger and I was going through like the doom days of like the latter Andy Reid, Chip Kelly days, it was like just making the playoffs made me happy, and that's not the case anymore. So it's like what's it called? Like a curse of spoils or something like that.
I don't know. I don't know what you're trying to get at there, but
yeah.
My last thing to say to you is, one, I feel bad for you after that soon because it's going to be a lot of years where you're not happy about football. And two, in the last Super Bowl that has happened, the Cowboys have more trophies at it than the Eagles.
Last 17 years, the quarterback to make the Super Bowl
Dak
and
Prescott,
lose has
Walter
not made
Payton
it
Man
back.
of the Year.
Just want to say that. But
all right, let's get on to something that we can agree upon. Give me your Sixers outlook real quick.
Make it to the finals and lose.
We're winning the finals this year, man. We're so good.
Guilty until proven innocent for the Sixers too. I hate to say it. The NBA hates the process. We know that.
Yes, they will rig it so that he can't win.
No, Doc Rivers hates the process.
No.
I think the Sixers have the roster to do it. Right?
Not the coach.
Not the coach.
Not the coach. Probably not the coach. Maybe not the bench either. But we've got the point per game leading scorer.
Yep.
Embiid. We got the assist per game leading scorer. That hasn't happened since 1981 with the Spurs. It's been over 40 years since that last happened. And our third scoring option is Tyrese Maxey, who's 20 plus points per game. He won't get it because he's going to be a starter soon. And he's shooting over 40% from three. Tobias,
garbage, bro.
I'm upset we couldn't package him at the deadline.
Garbage.
Get rid of the last half of that half year of his last contract. He's not terrible for a fourth option, but he's getting paid like a first option.
Dude, he had 3 points the other night.
He's lost me. He
lost me last season. He can't make layups. If there's one player that'll be the reason we don't win this year, it'll be him. Harden will put up his numbers. Embiid will put up his numbers. Maxey will come in and give us at least 15 every game. I love Jaden McDaniel, the one that we just got. I love that pickup. He looked good the first couple of times I've seen him.
He's a good player.
Melton has come into this team, and after the first week, or like first probably 5 games, I think that he's kind of made himself like a guy that we can depend on. He's not going to be a big scorer, not going to get the assists, but he'll just do his job. And you need guys like that if you're going to win the NBA.
Yeah, 100%. And I think once Maxey goes back into the starting lineup and we have Melton and Niang coming off the bench, Jaden McDaniels, we needed scoring off the bench and like a consistent scoring, right? And then I'm not upset that we got rid of Matisse. I think we already have PJ Tucker.
Yeah, I said the same thing.
What's going to happen with the mural in Fishtown now, Panyo?
He signed it.
He signed it?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. There was like a video.
Okay, that's kind of fire at least.
Yeah.
He needs to stop vlogging, I think. Listen, I loved him when he first came on, and I made every excuse for him in the book. And then between him not getting back, because his mom's like a hippie. He grew up on like maybe not grew up, but he frequented like a hippie compound type shit. Like, so it's like a different type of anti-vaxxer, right? And then the fact that you want to get vaxxed, like obviously we won the series, so it didn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but that obviously doesn't sit well. And the fact that this is his 3rd season, he still hasn't learned to shoot the ball.
It's Ben Simmons round 2.
Progression. Yeah, there's no progression. We've seen it happen in Philly. No progression in the jump shot. He was averaging 2.5 points per game.
That's over his career, right?
I think this season is
just this season. It has to be less than that for his career.
I can't have that coming off them. I don't care how good of a defender you are. We're a good team defense. Embiid's good in the post. Like we have PJ who locked up Jokic in the last game, which was weird. That was bizarre. I didn't think that could happen. And apparently he's done it before also. So that's a good sight. It's no more patience. Like cut your losses, move on. We got Jaden McDaniels out of it, which I think is a good pickup.
Yeah.
Because we need scoring off the bench. We just need an 8-man rotation. Yeah. That's all.
I think we're working our way towards that.
I think you guys need to get a second big man. I feel like you guys, I wouldn't say are wasting time, but
I feel like we got one though.
I mean, you got Embiid, but who else?
Have you watched this?
No, not at all. Who else you got? Who else you got, Panyo? Who's the other big?
We got Biggs. We got Biggs. What's his name? I can't remember his name.
I don't know his name.
We just picked up Dwayne Dedman. Right?
Dedman, yeah, we got Dedman. But what's the one that he played for the Clippers a little bit?
Oh, Trez.
Montrez.
Oh,
Listen,
Montrez, but
Montrez, when
he's good for the media.
When Embiid is not playing, he's an animal. When he has to come off the bench, he's just Montrez.
And then I heard you guys also signed Mac McClung.
Mac McClung, 2-way deal though, so he's gonna be playing with the Blue Coats mostly.
Yeah.
I don't see him making a jump to the Sixers until maybe next year, if that. But he might be someone that we kind of just brought in, and we're gonna use him in a deal next season.
And the dude's in the dunk contest as well.
Yes, he is in that.
That's like his whole thing.
I just don't get that. I really don't.
It doesn't make sense. You should have to be. I think you should have to be in the All-Star game to do the dunk contest. And then if none of the guys in the All-Star game, I don't even know how you could do this because it's not going to make sense what I'm going to say. But how LeBron has not done a dunk contest, it kind of pisses me off.
At least have them in the league, in the NBA, not the G League or something. Have them playing in the league, bench or starter, to be eligible to be in any of those skills competitions.
If this is what we've come to, TJ McConnell should be in the dunk contest. That would be electric. Can you imagine him? He would have to run and jump off a trampoline.
Yeah, I mean, he could probably maybe dunk at this point.
Maybe.
Maybe if he had some special shoes on. He could.
He needs those Mike shoes.
Yes, he does.
He can't two-hand dunk. I would be shocked if TJ McConnell could.
He's rim stuffed every time.
Yeah. Now the Mac McClung thing, it's a nothing story. It's like a funny story. It's the white kid that we saw in Ball His Life 6 years ago, finally in the NBA. So it's he got some tattoos. He still has a bowl cut. He's just goofy. I think he'd probably be a good dunker. It'd be entertaining, probably, but it's not. He's not going to provide. Probably might not play a significant minute for the Sixers all season.
No, I don't think he'll play a minute.
Maybe he could be an energy boost, and that's really it. Maybe throw up 5 points in the game and hype up the crowd or the bench.
Yeah, next time we play the Rockets.
Yeah, there you go. Throw him against the Rockets and let him cook. But Panyo, we're wrapping up here, so just give me your predictions for who's going to come out of the East and who's going to come out of the West, and then we're gonna get on going from here. So let me hear your predictions. Because I think the Bucks are coming out of the East. I think no doubt the Bucks are coming out of the East.
I obviously want the Sixers to come out of the East, and I think it is a make or break year for them. I think now is the line in the sand is drawn, just based on Embiid's age and Harden's contract situation and his age, and then Max is going to have to get paid in 2 years. I still think it's the Bucks though.
No,
and
there we go.
I hate to say it.
I had Sixers or Celtics. All right, go ahead.
I hate the Celtics. I think the Celtics, to me, Jason Tatum is not. I hate Jason Tatum. Not as definitely not from a skill position, skill level. He's nowhere near Patrick Mahomes, but just how much the media wants to shove Jason Tatum down our throats.
They want him to win MVP.
They want him to. The All-Star voting came out. He was voted first by the media in the East Conference. He had the most media votes in the East Conference, right? And we're talking over Kevin Durant. We're talking over Joel Embiid, of course. Come on. Get real.
Tyrese Halliburton, bro.
He was fourth between players and coaches. People who actually know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Right? So the disparity is obvious. The only other big disparity was like Kyrie Irving, who was first from players and coaches, and then like fourth in the media, which for obvious reasons.
Yes.
So it doesn't. I think he's overrated. I think he has the best second option in the NBA too. So the whole MVP stuff, the gap between him and Jaylen Brown is not that big. Jaylen Brown's averaging 27 points per game. When's the last time you've had your number 2 option averaging 27 points a game?
That's why Tatum had to take him out.
Obviously now Kyrie and Luka, that's going to happen. But this was a trade.
KD and Booker.
And that's going to probably happen too.
Yeah.
So for the West, Panyo, who do you got? Who is the team? Because I know guilty until proven innocent for the Suns. I know, and I'm with you on that.
But now I think that all changes. A lot has changed this last week.
I think no one on the West really stands out to me.
The conference is switched.
Because the Nuggets are guilty until proven innocent. I think realistically, though, the Suns make it out. And I hate the Suns. I hate Devin Booker. I hate Chris Paul. I think Chris Paul's the dirtiest player in sports. But I think you add KD to that, you have to do something really wrong to not make it out.
I agree.
Yes.
Like they are
West,
for sure in win now mode, and they're trying to get CP3 that ring for the 20th time of his career.
He's not going.
I don't want to see him win a ring. I don't want to see him win a ring. I don't. I think the Bucks, maybe the Celtics, maybe the Sixers match up well against the Suns in a finals. But if you have Chris Paul dishing it to, making wide open looks for Devin Booker and KD, who are you going to double? You can't double anybody in the playoffs. Talk about spreading the floor. You could have KD and Devin Booker sitting on each side of the court, and you got Chris Paul playing maestro at the top of the key.
Yep.
That's
the truth, though.
You can't. Yeah. Don't even have. You can play 4v5, and you'd still have so much space, right? It's going to be hard for any team. No team in the West defensively matches up against that because you need to guard Booker and KD. You need 2 all-pro wing defenders. Who's going to do that in the West?
Yep.
The Clippers are going to send Kawhi and Robert Covington on him. Kawhi, okay. Kawhi is a skeleton these days. No one's been talking about how he has not been playing well since he came back from his 2-year sabbatical. So what are the Grizzlies going to do? What are the Nuggets going to do? Your 4 on the Nuggets is overweight. Who's he? Is he going to guard? Is Jokic going to guard KD or KD? No.
Dallas.
Oh, how about Aaron Gordon, right? Who they brought as the LeBron stopper 2 years ago, which was hilarious. What are they going to? Who am I missing? No one matches up against the Suns. It's over.
Think Dallas
the Suns
is
are
the
going to
only
win the
one
West.
that can get close.
And yeah, again, even on the Dallas, who's gonna guard these players?
They're gonna have to depend on Luka and Kyrie, but I don't see them stopping them.
No, Kyrie. I could see Kyrie Do you expect Kyrie to guard Devin Booker 5 feet from the 3-point line?
Kyrie's an underrated defender, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, and then Luka, love him. He moves very smart. He's not the fastest guy. And KD's reach on Luka, he's got 6 inches of reach.
That's an easy jumper every time.
Yeah, and KD shoots from the top, right? Yep. It's going to be hard for Luka to really kind of, disturb him on jumpers at least. So then I don't see anybody doing anything to the Suns in the West. And I hate to say it, I hate the Suns. I don't like Chris Paul. I don't want to see him win a ring. I don't like Devin Booker. I don't want to see him win a ring.
Yet he's on your fantasy team.
Yeah, I have Devin Booker and Chris Paul on my fantasy team, actually, and I dislike them both.
Both?
He's got both of them.
Yeah, I have them both. And I don't like either of them, honestly. CP 0 rings, slept with Kim Kardashian, and ruined Kanye. And at this point, anyone who has a State Farm sponsorship, I don't like. Chris Paul, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. I hate them all.
Well,
I hate them all.
That's
That's the stupid Patrick Mahomes bath bomb commercial and the jazz time. Hate that.
What about Andy Reid? He's on the State Farm commercials too.
Yeah, now he's gotten suckered into the State Farm commercials because of Patrick Mahomes. That's weird though. The whole drawing mustaches on the plane. That I don't see like that jokester side of Andy Reid. That's strange. I don't like him. I don't like State Farm. I'll never have State Farm.
Well, all right, well, let's end it there.
Yeah. So with that being said, Panyo,
you guys won't get a State Farm sponsorship ever. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, we won't
That's
be promoting State Farm. Don't worry. Just because of this, I don't think we're going to do it anyways. But we'll make
Mayhem
sure to promote
commercials are
whatever
way
insurance
better.
that you
Get
have,
Allstate.
Panyo.
What's that?
We'll make sure to promote whatever insurance that you have, and we'll put it over here somewhere so you can see.
I'm riding dirty, bro. Philly rates are way too expensive.
Well, Panyo, I wish we could talk longer, but we can't.
All right, brother.
But thanks for coming
having
on,
me,
man. It was great, and we will definitely be talking soon for sure. We appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome, Panyotti. But thanks, brother.